Welcome to the Moonflower Show. It's winter.
And Colin, how's it going?
Welcome back. Tonight we are going to be sharing with you some campfire stories. So what's a campfire story, Colin? What do we mean by that?
Well, when you think of campfire stories, you usually think of, like, legends and, like, ghost stories.
Oh yeah, that's not what we're doing.
No.
Right?
Oh, I mean, I thought you were asking me literally, what is a campfire story? No, that's not what we're doing. We are telling stories about our past experiences with camping, because we both love camping a lot.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I've been on many camping trips. It's almost never a bad time for me. I love just to, like, be immersed in nature just for, like, a little period of time. It's always such a wonderful mental reset for me, you know? Like, if there's so many, like, if my mind tends to get clogged up by all, like, the little details of life, and, like, I've always had, like, a mental list of all the things that I need to do by when some things fall through the cracks, when the list gets too big or too piled up. And then a camping trip is always just, like, I don't know, it's refreshing, and I always come back from a camping trip with a very clear head, which is very nice.
Yeah, that is really nice. I love being outside and just being around a campfire.
Yeah.
That feels nice.
Mm-hmm.
I like camping. I sometimes do not find camping to be refreshing. But
I mean, there's certain luxuries you have to sacrifice when camping.
Well, yeah, and I don't mind sacrificing those. I mean, just when I'm camping, I can get really scared when I'm sleeping outside in a tent. Like,
I mean, one of those luxuries is walls.
Yeah, that's true. But the other luxuries I don't mind as much giving up. Like, I like roughing it. I just wish that I could have, like, a personal sentry, like, just stand outside my tent from the hours of, like, midnight to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
That's the only luxury I need.
Yeah, not super fun when you are sitting in your tent and you hear coyotes, but...
Oh my gosh, can we start out with that story?
Yeah.
Well, before we get into that story, so as Colin was saying, the basic idea of this episode is we want to share with you some stories of times that we've gone camping. We have a little ambiance video set up right now of a campfire looking over a beach. So we're going to kind of share with you the vibe of sitting around a campfire and just sharing our stories. And the theme of the stories tonight for you is camping stories about camping or camping related experiences.
Yes, so they are campfire
stories.
Yes, camping
campfire stories.
Camping fire stories. Not stories about fire when you're camping. Because that would be very, I don't know, that'd be very unfortunate if there was a fire when you were camping and not a contained fire.
Yeah.
I'm getting off track here. We were going to tell the coyote story.
Yeah. So we hope you enjoy these stories. And if you like this format, you should let us know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're thinking of just doing occasionally an episode where we just, like, pick a theme and we just, like, relay some stories and experiences that we've had in our lives.
Yes. I also want to share this with you at the beginning, Moonflowers. I am sorry to keep tantalizing you with our coyote campfire story, but we have something very special in the works right now, and it's not quite in a position where we can share the details, but we want to encourage you, if you're listening to this podcast, to keep an eye on our social media over the next week or two, because we're going to be making a pretty sweet announcement.
Yeah, I think by the time the next episode from this one is released, I think that might be when we're either then or before, or couple days before then will be when this announcement comes to fruition.
Yes, and if you are listening to this, especially if it's on time, aka tomorrow, April 2021, that probably means that you're one of our... Wait,
April
what?
27th.
Yeah, I said April 2021.
And
Tomorrow.
you said tomorrow, April 2021, which is like... Tomorrow's April, but today is April.
The day after that is going to be May, and then the day after that it's June. Just kidding.
Oh, I guess, yeah. I guess April's almost over.
Yeah. That's not what I was saying. That was just kind of a brain fart. Anyway, I want to make sure that you, our loyal listeners, are among the first to be aware of this super cool thing that we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's really for you. So, yeah. Stay tuned. Follow us on social media. Moonflower Show. All right. So this coyote story, huh? Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, there we were, alone and afraid. Just kidding. We were camping.
We were not alone. We had each other. And one of us was afraid.
It was me. We were camping at an undisclosed location in...
You don't want to disclose location.
It was in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania. It's outside.
Oh my god, we were talking about Pennsylvania earlier. And we were like, you said something like, I think outside just by itself is the motto of Pennsylvania.
Well, that's
I was like,
not quite what I
don't
said.
think that's what it is.
I said, I think that Pennsylvania has an outdoorsy motto. You know how, like, Connecticut is, like, the nutmeg state, or, like Florida is, like, the sunshine state. I think that Pennsylvania is, like, something about, like, getting outside and, like, being outdoorsy. And I was like, yeah, I think it's just Pennsylvania. It's outside.
The state of Pennsylvania
is outside.
Is outside. It's not inside.
It's outside. You open a door and you're in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
When you step out, you're going into Pennsylvania.
Right. So there we were in Pennsylvania.
At an undisclosed location.
One of us was afraid. It was winter.
Yeah, I get spooked when I go camping. That's just how I am. I really need to be in a building to feel truly safe. I do enjoy camping. I just get scared at night, but I do it anyway because I love it so much. But we were tent camping, and I was getting nervous because it was getting dark, and we were sitting around the campfire cooking, and we had our food out on the picnic table. And I always get nervous when we have food out, especially if it's like meat and stuff,
right? Because
I know that it attracts animals. So when I cook dinner and I'm camping, I usually try to do it while it's still light out so that I don't get too nervous. But we had gotten to this campground rather late, and the sun was going down, and we were cooking dinner, and I was just getting super, super anxious because it was dark out. Like, not completely dark, but like getting dark, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there were like lights that we could see like through the trees from like the building where the bathrooms were and stuff. So it wasn't like pitch black out.
No, but it was still pretty dark, and we were cooking, and I was nervous because the food was out, and I was really just wanting to get dinner done and then put the food away. And I knew when I did that, I would feel better. And the other thing was, we were right at the edge of the campground, and Colin was the one who booked this campsite, and he thought that it would be super nice to kind of be a little more secluded.
Yes, because I'm the opposite. When I'm camping, I like not total seclusion, but like I like a lot of privacy when I camp, because I don't want to be too close to another occupied campground, because camping is usually a very introspective experience for me. So I like to be usually on the edge of the campgrounds, closer to where just like wilderness is. But yeah, I had booked this. I think this was this the first camping trip we went on together?
Yes, and that's why you didn't know that you shouldn't book a campsite, at least with me. Yeah. That it's better. I feel way safer if there are people and other campers around. And Colin went ahead and gotten this campsite at the very edge of the campground. It wasn't his fault. He didn't know, because we had never been camping before. But it was pretty much, there was us. We were on the last row of campgrounds before this larger expanse of woods started, where you could go hiking in, and there weren't people sleeping or camping in there. So we were very close to that. And then also there were no other campers in our row, so we were the only
in
ones
the little
there.
complex of campgrounds.
Yeah, and we could kind of see and hear other campers in the distance, but it was pretty far.
Yeah.
And I know you really loved it, but I was getting scared. I was scared because it was getting dark. We were cooking. I don't like to be cooking in the dark when I'm camping because I know the food attracts animals. And we were relatively far from other campers, and we were right at the edge of this big expanse of woods. I was getting scared already. So we're sitting around the campfire. I'm anxious. I'm like, I just want to get through this dinner. And then I hear this pack of coyotes just yipping and yowling, and they sounded super close. And I can't see anything. I look into this vast expanse of woods, and even though there's still light in the sky, the trees are blocking all of the light. I can't see anything. So I'm freaking out. I am not having an okay time. I'm like, I need to go in the tent. So I go in the tent. I don't know, but the tent makes me feel safe. But I go in the tent, and Colin is quite confused because he's never, been camping with me, and he doesn't know that I get scared. And so he's just sitting there making his grilled cheese, and he's like, I'm making you a grilled cheese. Are you okay? And I'm like, no. But we got through it. I got really drunk that night. I got really drunk, and the alcohol helped me cope. That shouldn't be the moral of the story, but it is.
I mean, moral of the story is I now don't book campsites that are secluded from everyone else.
Yeah, and also moral of the story, I need to make sure that I get to a campground nice and early so that I can still cook while it's light out.
Yeah, I mean, even I was a little spooked at the coyotes.
And there were several.
Yes.
I know coyotes...
I mean, I knew that they wouldn't actually come up to the campsite. I knew that, which is why I wasn't, too concerned. Because they are, they're still, small animals, and they are not, I don't think they're super aggressive, you know?
No, they're not aggressive with adult humans.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, if I had been sitting there and I had, a toddler or something...
Oh, yeah.
And they had been kind of bonking around, you know how toddlers are, they kind of lean back and forth, and it makes them walk.
They waddle.
They waddle. If I had a little toddler waddling around and they weren't right next to me, and I had heard that, I would have scooped them right up and been like, okay, you're going to sit in my lap. Please don't get up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think I would have tried not to alarm them, but that's what I think I worry about most. On an intellectual level, that's what I would be worried about most with coyotes, but...
Right.
When you hear a pack of them like that, I mean... chances are they're not going to hurt an adult human, but it just makes me nervous to hear more than one.
Yeah, it's a little spooky. Yeah. I will admit that was a little spooky to me, too. But it was fine. And we still had a lot of fun that trip. I guess I'll just go ahead and tell another story.
Yeah, tell me another story.
This was a couple years ago. I'm thinking 3-4 years ago. I was camping somewhere upstate with my family, upstate New York. And we were staying up there for a week. It was a wonderful trip. And one of the days we had made reservations for this tubing trip. We'd make reservations to rent some tubes to tube down this river. Mm-hmm. And we were all super excited for it. It was me. I don't know if my sister. I can't. It's so horrible to say, but I don't remember if my sister was there. I think she was. Yeah. So it was me, my brother, my sister, and my dad and my stepmother, and we went to this tubing excursion. The water was kind of low that day, and the stream wasn't going very fast. So when we got there, they told us that, like, you booked the reservation, you don't have to choose the tubes, right? You could either do, like, tubes, you could do kayaks, or you could do, like a big family raft, right?
Yeah.
That would fit all of you. Where we were like, no, we wanted to do individual tubes. We want to do this, like, lazy river style. You ever been to a water park and be, like, on the lazy river?
Yes.
I love the lazy river.
It wasn't a water park, but I went to a hotel once.
Yes, hotel
that has
with a lazy river. That's awesome.
As an aside, my family had, like, one really nice vacation that we went on when I was younger. And, like, pretty much, we would go on vacation, but it was usually to see family. But there was this one trip we did, and we stayed at a really nice hotel, and it was, like, the whole tourist experience, and they had a lazy river, and I thought it was, like, the coolest thing.
So, yeah, I'm a big fan of the lazy river. So this was like a couple miles of a stretch from from the place that you went off the docks to the place where they go and retrieve the tubes. They'll, like, drive down, retrieve the tubes, and pick you up at, like, a different location. So we were like, yeah, we're gonna do the tubes. So we all get into our different tubes. I think my sister was, like, on either my dad's or my stepmom's, like, lap. So we had, like, four individual tubes. And we start going down the river. Very, very slowly. Like, we get in the tubes and we, like, wait a minute. We have barely moved from the rental place.
I'm, like, imagining this as, like, a cut frame. Like, okay, you get in the tubes 1 hour later, and you've, like, moved, like, 6 feet. Like, there's, like, a snail on the side of the riverbed, like, going faster than you.
We wait, like, a minute. And like, for the first minute, it was pretty quiet. We were smiling. We were still excited. We were kind of, like, looking around, like, nice scenery. Wait, like, a couple more minutes. We've made it, like, an eighth of a mile. And this was like 7 miles of, like, stream to get through. So we were like, this might have been a bad idea. So we start talking to each other and, like, wow, we're not gonna get home. I mean, they're gonna have to pick us up really late if we continue at this pace.
Yeah,
because the stream was so, like, it was, like, low tide.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's, like, a technical term for river.
Well, it wouldn't be a tide for river, but just was low.
Yeah, the river was low. The stream was not flowing very fast. So eventually, we make the executive decision. We were like, okay, it's now or never. Me and my stepmom, we get out of the tubes. We jump into the river. And we put our arms on, we like put our hands on the side of the tubes, and we start kicking, and we push the tubes as, like, a unit back to the shore. We kick back to the shore, and the rental guys are just, like, looking at us. And we got out of the river with, like, big smiles on our faces, and we're like, so about that, I think we want to do the raft instead, because the raft comes with a paddle. Or, like, you have, like, oars that you can row with. I see. So you can propel yourself forward instead of just having to rely on the stream.
Yeah.
So they were very gracious about it. They were like, yeah, it might not be the best day for tubing, so they traded us. We got it. We were able to trade the tubes out for the raft, and that was a super fun experience, going down that stream in a raft, just, like, all together. And we've done it a couple times since because we enjoyed it so much.
Nice.
We got to, like, you know, take turns. I think there were, like, 2 paddles on, like, for, like, either side. So we got, like, take turns paddling. I think we, like, packed a little, like, lunch box for, like, some lunches, which is just stuck right on the bottom of the raft. And, like, sometimes you just stop paddling, you coast along. There were, like, a couple small rapids, and it was a beautiful trip.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It was very funny. We still joke about it to this day. With the whole rest of the trip, we were joking about it. We were like, man, if we had chosen the tubes, if we'd stayed on the tubes, we'd just be getting off now. Like several days later, we were like, well, we'd just be getting off the tubes right now.
That's funny.
Years later, we still quote that. We were like, man,
we'd be getting off the tubes right now.
We'd be getting off those tubes if we had chosen.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Oh, and I'm just picturing those guys' faces, like
Yeah.
the workers who watch you get out of the tube and push it
They
to
were
shore.
also like occasionally looking over because we could still see the rental place like several minutes after we had left the dock.
Yeah, like I'm just imagining being one of those guys. Like
Yeah.
it's your summer job. You're like, there they go. Oh, they're coming to shore. Okay, all right.
Yeah. It was a little awkward, but very, very funny. Very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose it's my turn to tell a story, isn't it?
If you would like.
Whale. On the topic of being in things that float, such as boats and kayaks, I'd really love to tell the story of the magical kayak garden,
Yeah, we should tell that one.
which, contrary to what you may think, is not a place where you get kayaks, but a place that you go in your kayak, where magical things happen. So Colin and I were camping together, and the place we were staying had waterfront. It was on a river. Well, the campground was on the waterfront, not our campsite. And we decided we wanted to go kayaking. And
We love kayaking.
we both really love kayaking. It's something we kind of not discovered, but I think kind of really got into, especially last summer.
Yeah.
During the pandemic. Yeah, we just both have had a lot of fun with it recently. So we're going kayaking. Were you going to add something?
I was just gonna say, I love being like on the water. I love all things like aquatic. If you know me, you probably know that. But I love being in a little like personal boat, and it's a good workout, you know. And you get to see like really beautiful scenery usually, like all the while. So it's a wonderful experience all around.
Yeah, it definitely is. So we were going kayaking, and Colin and I like to do a tandem kayak, which is where there's one person in the front and there's one person in the back. And this is a lot of fun because it means that we can work together to move the kayak, and it usually means that overall we're moving like less weight,
Right.
so it's a little less work, but it also means that we have to coordinate.
Yeah, the coordination is not always there. I mean, it takes practice to be coordinated on a tandem kayak.
Yes, it definitely does. We were kind of trying our best when we first got in this kayak. We were going down the river. We were having a good time, but, you know, the person in the back kind of has to steer, and then the person in the front kind of has to just guide.
They set the pace of the rowing, which is also important.
And, like, you kind of have to be very in sync with the person in the front, and then you have to be very intuitive as to, like... I feel like it's very easy to missteer a kayak.
Yes.
Like... Even if you're doing alternately perfect, like same strength, same speed on each side.
Because that's not the only factor. You have to factor in, like, the stream, like, which way the undertow is going.
Yeah.
And, like, the wind.
Yeah. So, point being, I'm in the back. And I am kind of steering and then also trying to, like, sync with Colin and be on the same side.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do the same stroke on the same side... Like, you end up knocking your oars into each other, and it's just annoying.
Yeah, and I am not the most, I don't have the most consistent pace when rowing, which is...
No, you just kind of do what you intuitively know is the move, but then you don't always say, oh, I'm switching, I'm, like, doing right, I'm doing left.
Well, when you're putting your paddle into the water every, like, 2 seconds, it's pretty hard to communicate, like, I'm doing this, so we had to kind of be like left, right, but even that's hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
So we kind of like we were like, okay, if we're going too much this way, I'm gonna stop rowing. You row for a bit, and that was like, it was working okay for a little bit.
Yeah, but there was a lot of communication happening, and it was like we weren't going in the direction that we always wanted to, nor were we really going the pace we wanted to.
We were going in kind of zigzags.
Yeah, it was kind of like, okay, go to this shore, okay, go to that shore, like going in zigzag down the river, which was fine. It was fun. We get to this little, what would you call it?
It was kind of like a, well,
it was like an intersection in the water.
Yeah, it was like a creek almost that like branched off from the main river into a section of woods that like, and the river like went out into the river flowed out from the woods into the main river. But we discovered this little pathway, this little creek that went into the woods. Yeah.
And it looked like it was pretty wide where it met the river, and there were some people kind of going in and out, but there was like a wider part of it, kind of like a pool almost a little bit, and then the creek kind of went off. It narrowed quickly and then went off from there. And there were some people who were kind of going into the wider part, the little pool area.
Yes.
And kind of just paddling around and being like, I guess there's nothing really here. Mm. But then Colin and I just kind of looked at each other and we said, do you want to go check out that creek? Mm-hmm. And we were like, yeah, let's go do it.
Yeah, and the creek was like, it was pretty shallow. There was only probably a couple inches of space between the bottom of our boat and the ground underneath the water. Yep. So we were kind of just paddling like slowly along this creek.
Yeah, and as soon as we got into there, it was we had this, like I said, there was this bigger, wide area where it met the river, and that was kind of open. There were trees on either side of the river still, or I guess the creek as it was starting, but it was still very open. As soon as we went into this creek, it was like the canopy formed. Yes. And it was the light was just filtering through the trees.
Mm-hmm. There was like rays of sunshine coming through the leaves.
And I just remember there were like dragonflies and not annoying insects. Mm-hmm. Yes. And it was so beautiful.
And we like rode underneath like fallen trees and stuff. Yeah. It was magical. Yeah. It was just like a magical moment that we both kind of just like took in silently, and we both like knew we were sharing this experience with each other and like witnessing something super beautiful. And I don't know, it was a magical feeling.
Yeah. It literally looked like something out of a Disney movie. Mm-hmm. Or like even like Legend of Zelda. Like it was just so beautiful, and not to say that like fiction is the only beautiful thing, because nature can be beautiful too, but I think there's these little pockets that can sometimes go unnoticed. Yes. And like nobody was going down there.
Yeah, and we were like, wow, I bet like not a lot of people come and check this out, because you could only row up to a certain point. Eventually it got too shallow and we had to turn around, but it was so worth it, and we like just on a whim we had decided to go here, and it was like it made the whole kayaking experience like that much more enjoyable and complete.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There were points at which it was quite shallow, and there were points at which we had to actually get out, and I don't think we had to ever like pick up the kayak, but I think there were points when one of us had to get out and lift their end and kind of push it over. Yeah. And after we did that a couple times, we were done. Yeah. Yeah. And we got back out of that creek. Yes. And all of a sudden, we were so in sync.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I don't know what kind of magic was back there, but we started booking it back towards the docks.
Yeah. And whereas before we were kind of struggling to communicate, we were saying like, oh, like left, like I'm gonna go to the right for a little bit, like okay, wait, no, you kind of interpret when we need to do this, and I'll follow you, and like all this like jumbled communication. We didn't say a word, but we were so in sync, and it was like we knew exactly what the other person was thinking without them saying it.
Yeah. It was super nice, and it was like cathartic almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It was hard work because I think we were going against the current.
Oh yeah,
on the
we
way
were
back.
going against the current, and that I don't know if you've ever rode before, but it's like not easy. It's a real workout, upper body.
Yeah, but we were clipping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just got out of that kayak and we were like, oh, that was so satisfying, and like we were so in sync.
Yeah.
It was a great moment.
It was.
Yeah, that's a really good story. My turn?
Yeah, I think so. Although we kind of told that one together.
Yeah. But you kind of led the way, I think. I will tell another one about me and my family. This one was not exactly camping. It's camping adjacent. It was a day hike. Am I allowed to tell a day hike story?
I think that's allowed.
Can you give me permission?
Explicit. Would you like me to write you a permission slip?
You don't have to get out anything right now because they're doing a podcast. It might take a little while and write me anything, but I would like your verbal permission to.
You have a psychic permission slip from me.
Okay, I'm receiving it.
That was the sound of it getting deposited.
I've been faxed.
Yeah.
I've been faxed the slip in my brain.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was several years ago, more than 5 years ago, probably. Because my sister was super young at this time. But it was me, my family, and it was a couple of my, I think my aunt and uncle and cousins were on this hike too, because we were up by where they lived. And we found this really, really neat hiking trail that went through the mountain or through the forests, and it was in a kind of mountainous region where there were a lot of overpasses, and you went up very high and overlooked a stream and overlooked a waterfall from above, and then you'd go back around and you saw the waterfall from up close. It was a super cool trail. And my little sister, she was 2 or 3 at the time, and she's always been super spunky, super energetic, and she's always loved going on hikes and stuff. But it's a lot of work for those little legs.
Yeah.
So we were hiking along for a couple hours, and we are having a wonderful time, but Tegan is starting to become tired, I think, and the rest of us are too. She's actually been keeping up the pace with the rest of us. We were all kind of getting tired and a little hungry. I don't think we had packed lunch. So we were getting to the point of kind of being done. And I think we came to an area where it showed us a map of our progress along the trail. And I think we saw that we had several more hours of hiking before we would get back to where our car was, and we were like, oh no. This is going to go from good to bad.
Yeah.
In terms of our moods.
I am currently feeling happy, but shortly I will feel sad.
Exactly.
Oh no.
And we had a little toddler with us, right?
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, we don't want her to get all
cranky
and tired. And she's been doing such a great job so far.
Yeah.
So we come to this point where we are below where one of the upper trails are, and we're on a trail that's down a steep incline looking upwards at where we were before, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
And my stepmother, she looks up at the trail above, and she looks to us and she's like, let's scale it. And it was a steeper than a 45-degree angle.
Wow. It
was probably a 60-degree angle.
I'm trying to imagine what that looks like.
Yeah.
So in the 45, I'm doing a little thing with my hand, moonflowers.
60 is 2/3 up to a 90-degree angle.
So it would be like this, and then we got like a third, and then a third.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty steep.
Yeah, no, I mean, to climb
Yeah.
up, I mean, you certainly can't, like, walk up it.
Yeah.
You just slip, because the dirt would fall underneath you. So, but they were, like, roots and stuff and rocks that you could grip onto. So we kind of just, like, talk amongst ourselves, like, oh, I don't know, like, it might be dangerous, but it'd also be super cool, and it'd be a wonderful end to this, like, super cool, memorable end to this hiking trip. And our main concern was, like, Tegan, how's she gonna get up this thing?
Yeah.
And my mom was like, or my stepmom was like, no problem. Tegan, just get on my back and hold on real tight.
Oh my gosh.
So Tegan, my little sister, clings to my stepmother's back like a little backpack. And we start to scale the side of this this incline.
That does not surprise me.
It was enjoyable. It was tough.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But
yeah.
I'm trying to, like, think of how tall it was. It was, like, at least a good 20 feet up.
Yeah.
20 to 30 feet that we scaled up. And, yeah, we all made it up. And we didn't have much longer after that till we got back to our car. And Tegan she was just having the time of her life. And she, like, wasn't scared at all. Like, so many kids would be, like, we'd look down and, like, be like, oh my god, I'm up real high. This is scary. And I would, like, start crying. Maybe, like, let go. No, she was fine.
Wow.
She was, like, she enjoyed it. She's always been a brave little kid.
Backpack kid.
Yeah, she was seriously like a little monkey. That's that
Kids
story.
are like monkeys.
They are.
Tiny monkeys. They are.
They are.
What else do I have for you, Moonflowers? What other stories?
You have a couple stories that you haven't told yet, and I don't know if we'll get to all of them, but I know that you have more.
What one should I tell?
You have the rainbow story.
Oh yeah, the rainbow story.
You have the story about the folks from Ireland.
Oh yeah. I don't know if that would be a good one.
You can tell the rainbow story. I like that one.
Okay. Yeah, let's try the rainbow story. So, I was in Lake George, New York. As you can imagine, there's a lake there called Lake George.
You've disclosed the location. Oh
yeah,
no.
I've disclosed the location. What's
gonna happen? Nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah, nothing's gonna happen. It's a popular tourist destination, I think. I'm camping with some good college friends of mine who I was really good friends with throughout my years in college. Mm-hmm. We all got together. This was like the summer after we'd graduated, and we were all getting together in like August. And we were like, yeah, let's do a camping trip. Let's all like go hang out and like catch up because we haven't seen each other in a few months and we miss you and da-da-da-da-da. So we're doing it. So we get to the camping site and it is pouring. And then it continues to pour for 2 days. It was not good weather. Mm-hmm. Everything was like kind of soaked. On the second day that we were there was like a break in the rain. And we're like, oh yeah, it's time to cook. So we get a fire going. And we're like, let's cook some potatoes. It has been like clear for maybe an hour or so. We have this fire going. We're like cooking the potatoes in a little bit of foil next to the fire. And then all of a sudden, we hear thunder. And we're like, God damn it. My friend's trying to check her phone. She's like trying to see if it's gonna rain. Low service, like we cannot tell. We're like, oh no, like I bet it's not gonna rain, but we should still like, you know, try and get in the car, just in case, you know. So we kind of are starting to get our stuff and like go into my friend Peter's car.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden. Yeah. All of a sudden, it just starts torrential downpouring. Like, the level of rain that is like, you're standing on the earth, but it's like you're in a pool.
Yeah.
That amount of rain. And
I've had that happen on a camping trip too, but I'll let you continue your story.
so it starts torrential downpouring. We're like, no, the potatoes. So we like go and grab all our little like potatoes, which are like half cooked, like wrapped in foil. My friend Rachel is like, I'm getting the ketchup. She's like running in slow motion for the cooler. She's like, I got it. We're all like running towards my friend Peter's car, like just haphazardly grabbing stuff that we think we might need. Our tent's like collapsing in the wind. We're like, no. No. We all like get in my friend Peter's car. We have like our sad little half-cooked potatoes. And
half-cooked potatoes.
Half-cooked potatoes. We got somebody had grabbed some like plastic forks. I think there were like 2 of them, and there's like 5 of us in the car.
Oh.
We have the ketchup. My friend Peter is like, I'm just gonna drive. I'm like, okay. So we're eating our potatoes there. He's like, as soon as we get service, somebody find me like a restaurant or like a bar or something that we can go to and just wait for this to pass.
Yeah.
That way we're not like literally just being miserable,
yes.
You know? So we get service. My friend finds this bar that's overlooking the water, overlooking Lake George, and we're like, yeah, let's just go there. So we go, we're, you know, sitting down at the bar, having a couple drinks, and it starts to clear up. Well, the sky is still pretty cloudy, but it stops raining, and we're like, oh, you know. They had this little deck area.
Yeah.
So some of us were kind of like, oh, let's go like stand on the deck and just like look over the lake. That'll be pretty. So we're standing on the deck and like looking over this lake, and the sky is still so stormy, but it stopped raining. And then as the clouds break, I see over this like majestic lake. And if you've ever seen Lake George, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful. And there's the mountains in the background just like billowing is how I would describe them.
Yes.
Over this whole lake, there's a rainbow. Just this huge rainbow. And the light is breaking through the clouds and just shedding this like angelic light over the lake. And I just look at this and I'm like, wow, this is incredible. I have a photo of it, but it does not do it justice.
Yeah.
I have a photo of it. And I always have to tell people there's no filter, there's no editing. This is just what it looked like.
Yeah.
And it was just so gorgeous. And we had such a miserable time so far.
Yeah.
We got to the campsite really late the previous day, and there was an altercation with another camper at the campground. No. I think I told you that story. I'm not going to get into it because it's not worth it. And it had been raining, and people were being rude, and, you know, I think all of us were just kind of in awe at that really beautiful sight. And I remember saying I had been so miserable that trip so far.
Yeah.
But I was like, this makes it worth it.
There are a few things that compare to just like witnessing like the beauty of nature and like in person, you know, like beautiful natural phenomena.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like a gorgeous rainbow over a lake. Or like a huge waterfall.
I'd really like to share that other story. I think you don't know what I'm talking about, but there's another story that I'd like to share that I just remembered.
Sure.
So, you'll see why I remembered this story in just a second.
Sure.
But Colin and I were camping together, and we were tent camping. We were sitting at a picnic table at our campsite, and we were playing some Chinese checkers. It was like early afternoon. The weather had been gorgeous so far. It was supposed to be gorgeous weather all weekend. We were having an amazing time. And we're sitting there playing Chinese checkers, and all of a sudden, I get this feeling. I, like, notice, like, the birds have gone quiet. And I'm like, the wind feels different. And I'm like, are you sure it's not supposed to rain? And you had, like, checked the weather, like, an hour prior to that.
Yeah.
And it was not supposed to rain. It was supposed to be sunny, sunny, sunny all day.
Yeah.
Like, sunny and 70 degrees. And you were like, no, I just checked the weather. It's not supposed to rain. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why the birds are getting quiet or why the air is different, but it's supposed to be sunny. And I was like, okay. And then we kind of keep playing, and, like, the sky's getting a little darker. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, my intuition, my sixth sense was, like, freaking out.
Yeah.
And by sixth sense, I mean just paying attention to how animals are acting and looking at the sky.
Yes.
And I was like, I need to check the weather. And then it was like, severe thunderstorm in 3 minutes. And I was like, oh.
It was like an alert.
Yeah. And so we were like, oh no. So we, like, had to, like, get all our crap in the tent. We had kind of things just like, you know, around, like, on the table, and just left stuff out because we knew it was going to be nice weather, or knew it was going to be a nice weather, in quotation marks. So we're, like, chucking stuff in the tent left and right. We're like, we gotta go. We're, like, taking our towels off the clotheslines, like, throwing stuff in the car. Our car is, like, parked a little bit away, so
Yeah.
we're, like, running. Just trying to get stuff out of the elements of nature, I guess. And I remember we had this tarp. We had a tarp
Oh, yeah.
that I was like, if it's gonna rain, we should put this over the tent. It wasn't a rain fly, but my dad, who is kind of a veteran camper, has always taught me, you want to put a tarp under your tent to protect it from the ground wetness getting into your tent, and then you want to put a tarp over the tent in addition to the rain fly to keep the water from getting in the tent from just dripping down, because the rain fly is good, but it's not always 100%
Yes.
effective. And so I was like trying to, like, string up rope and, like, get this tarp, like, strung up.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, like, the wind was picking up, and it just, like, I was like, there was no way I could, like, rig this thing in, like, 2 minutes that we had, you know?
Yep.
So I just, like, I think you were helping me, like, threw this tarp over the tent.
Yes, I
think
remember that.
staked it down in a couple places. Like, got in the tent as quick as we could and, like, zipped it closed. And all of our stuff was, like, finally in the tent and the car. And then it just started pouring, like, the second
Yeah. With, like, just
that
in the
we
nick
had,
of time.
that we had gotten everything inside and put
Yeah.
this tarp over our tent.
We were just, like, let out a breath of relief.
Yeah. And then continued our game of Chinese checkers.
Yes. And that was cool. I mean, we definitely felt like we were tired, but we felt like a sense of, like, oh yeah, we did it. Like, we
Yeah.
beat the rain, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know much about meteorology, but I hope they fired whoever said that it was gonna be sunny all day, because I don't know who missed a severe
Yeah.
thunderstorm.
It really was. It was like, I think we checked the weather at like 1 p.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was like 2. And like all of a sudden, it was truly like so surprising.
Yes. And it didn't last that long. It was kind of like a short storm. But
Yeah. It was like, geez, would be nice to know.
Yeah. What do you think? Or should we,
You want to tell another one? I have plenty I could tell. I'm
Yeah.
just kind of sharing them as they come up.
Why don't we do one more? A story that we share an experience of. I would like to tell the Cherry Spring Park story.
Oh yeah, you should tell that one. You tell it good.
Yeah. So, winter. Was this 2019? This was 2019.
Yeah,
right?
because this was before we were technically dating.
Yes, this is when.
Well,
it
we
was
were
like,
seeing each other, but we hadn't like gone steady.
Exactly. So, Winter had invited me to go to Cherry Spring National Park, I believe.
Cherry Spring State Park.
Cherry Spring State Park.
Yeah.
My bad. And it is, I guess, classified as a dark sky sanctuary.
Exactly.
Which means that there is a very low level of light pollution in the area. And that means that you can see the night sky super, super clearly. And I love stargazing. I love looking up at the night sky in all its splendor. So I'm like, yes, of course I will go with you. So we prepare for this trip. We're not spending the night, so this isn't actually like a camping story. But once again, it is camping adjacent because we are going out to be in the wilderness as a sort of like excursion. We we pack chairs because the park itself, it's like it's like a big open field.
Well, there's hiking and stuff around it too.
But there's this huge field that goes on for like a mile or two. That where you can just like lay out. You can sit on chairs. You can sit on a blanket. You can set up your tent and camp there. And it's just this clear field where you can look up at the night sky. So we had packed chairs, packed blankets. It was pretty cold that night, so we were bundled up,
and we were still kind of cold.
Yeah, yeah, because we were like up in the mountains of Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, and it was right at the end of October.
Yeah, so it was pretty chilly.
It may have actually been the first weekend of November.
I think you might be right about that.
Yeah. So point being, it was cold.
Yes. So, we set up our stuff, and it's getting dark. It got dark really fast because there's literally no light pollution anywhere. There's like no buildings except for like this one little outhouse.
Yeah.
With bathrooms, and like I think the bathrooms themselves had like a light switch, which you are encouraged to like turn off when you're done using it.
I think also, if I'm not remembering incorrectly, that either there was no light in the bathroom and you were just supposed to use
a flashlight.
You were supposed to use, and you also have to use a special kind of flashlight at this park. You have to use a red light flashlight because that doesn't damage your night vision. As you can imagine, if somebody's waving a flashlight around,
you can see the beam of light going up.
You can see the beam of light, and it's like it can ruin your experience. And like, it's a dark sky sanctuary, so they want you to be very respectful of that. So we actually got a couple red light flashlights specifically for this. They weren't too expensive, but I think you were supposed to use either your flashlight in the bathroom, your red light flashlight, or you were supposed to, or there might have been like a red light in the bathroom, but it was quite dim.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, point is, it was dark. It was cold. But we're set up. We're very excited to see this guy. However, we noticed that it was quite cloudy that night.
Yeah.
And this was unfortunate, but we decided to go anyway. We kind of knew that it was going to be a little cloudy that night, but you'd made these reservations a while in advance.
Well, it wasn't even a reservation. We'd made the plans, and then I think we'd already rescheduled once because it had been cloudy before. And at the time, I had thought that I might be moving away from this area kind of soon.
Oh, right. Yeah. So
I had perceived like this might be my last chance to go to this park. So even if it's going to be mostly cloudy, I'd still really like to check it out. You know, because after the end of October, I think it's like October is like the best viewing month.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's just going to get very cold, you know?
Yep.
So
we decided to go anyway, despite the clouds. And we set up. We sit. We have some snacks. We have a couple of very nice conversations. And we're looking up at the sky, and it's really just nothing but clouds for a while. Some more people start to filter in to the campsite, set up their tents, and there was a bit of a somber mood.
Yeah, we had these hand warmers.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
we had these hand warmers.
I forgot about this.
Because I knew we were gonna need them, right? Because I was like, oh, it's gonna be chilly. So we were desperate. we were taking the hand warmers and like putting them like just wherever they would fit, like in our clothes.
Underneath your clothes.
Like I put like, and you're not supposed to really put them on bare skin.
It was fine though.
It was fine, but I was like putting them like under. I had like long johns on, and I was like putting them like under the long johns, and like my chest would get warm. Like a square inch of my chest would get warm, and I would be like, "Oh, come here, I got the warmth right here." Like let's make it grow.
So we had a lot of laughs that night, despite
We were so cold.
not being able to see the sky.
Yeah.
We made the most of it, and we weren't planning on staying the night, and it was getting rather late, so we were about ready to pack it up.
Yeah.
When this section of the clouds, just like a hole in the clouds, if you hold up your hand, maybe both your hands above your head,
And make that triangle.
make like a triangle or like a circle with your hands above your head.
Like you're being a cinematographer.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably about how large it appeared to us.
Yeah.
This part in the clouds, and just it opened up like a window into the sky above, and beyond that was like a beautiful luminous night sky of just
Yeah.
like you could see belts of stars, and just like I was like, wow, that even that small window is beautiful. And then I can't imagine what the whole thing looks like, you know, because you could see like there's a huge field of vision, I guess.
Yeah. We should go back there sometime.
We have to go back.
Yeah.
'Cause I want to see the whole thing, but
Yeah.
everybody was like looking and pointing up at like the window.
Yeah.
And it moved across the sky.
Yeah.
And we're just following it as it moved across the sky. And like once that had passed, we packed up and went home. But like it was a nice blessing, nice ending to the night.
I remember exactly what was happening at that moment too. I had closed my eyes, and I was listening to the chatter of the people in this field.
Yeah.
And we were all kind of spread out, but you could hear, you know how conversation sounds when you're a little bit kind of removed from it. You can't hear what
Yeah.
people are saying, but you can hear that there's humans.
I always thought there should be a word for that, you know?
Yeah.
I was always confused why there wasn't a word for that.
Yeah, like background chatter.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd closed my eyes and I was telling you how I loved that sound.
Yeah,
and
I love that sound too.
Yeah, and how it made me feel so safe and present, I think. And then as I was telling you this, you said, "Oh, wow, look." And you pointed towards the sky, and then I looked up and it was just this beautiful sight. I remember that so clearly.
Yeah. Another very magical moment, I think.
Yeah, we've had a couple of those, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Must be our luck. We got good camper's luck.
Camper's luck. Well, if you count the camper's luck being it was going to be cloudy the whole night, and then we got to see a little bit of the sky. You could look at it optimistically, or it could be, you know.
I think that it had a special kind of beauty
Yeah, it
because of the way we saw it.
did. It did. It certainly did.
Granted, I want to see the whole thing next time, please and
Yes.
thank you, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a good story. And then afterwards, the drive back was also interesting.
Oh yeah, what happened? We got lost, didn't we?
We got a little lost.
Oh yeah, we got lost. Well, you know what? We were never lost. We were never lost because I was looking at my phone. It couldn't load the directions. We had just enough service.
Yeah.
So it was loading the map of where we were, but it couldn't load directions. But it was showing us proceeding on a path.
Yeah.
And I was able to recognize the path of where we were going. And I was able to, even though it wasn't giving us directions, I was able to piece together how to get back on the highway by like zooming out and then zooming back in and then zooming out and zooming back in. So I was giving you very haphazard directions. like I was being like, oh, turn left, turn right here, and I was taking you on all these back roads because that was the way that I saw that would get us there. It certainly wasn't the fastest way, but I don't think we were lost. It was just that the map was not loading in the ideal way.
And even before we were taking these back roads, you had to drive back through like the mountain pass.
Yeah.
With like through the forest where there was like literally no light. It was like just the light of my headlights, against like these, just like all these trees, and like there was just like winding like up and down hilly road for like a good 20 minutes. I was just driving through dark mountain pass. That was a little spooky. Then we went around these back roads. We were starting to find our way. Then deer jumped out.
Oh yeah,
from my car.
I remember that.
I had to swerve out of the way of this deer, which was, frightening.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I remember that.
I swerved a little bit and like also kind of slammed on the brakes, so like my car kind of like slid a little bit, and I just like,
I remember that. I remember that startling you.
Yeah. But
once we got back on the highway, it was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yep. But that was quite a night.
I was actually pretty proud of myself for being able to navigate without the actual GPS and just the map.
Yeah. That's a useful skill.
Yeah. Well, like, I put us on a path. It was not the most direct path, but it was a series of roads that got us there.
Hey, you know that I relate to and appreciate that method, because I am not the best with directions either.
Oh my gosh, you know what I just remembered that I really want to share?
What?
Do you remember when we were in Lake George and we were looking for the gas station?
Oh my god. Okay, so this is... wow, we actually reached an hour with this episode.
So this is a separate time that we were in Lake George. The first time, the rainbow story, I was there with my friends from college.
Yeah, I was not there on this.
Colin and I went a separate time, and we stayed in a cabin.
Oh, that was such a nice experience.
It
actually
really was.
As an aside, one night at the cabin, we were sitting outside in the backyard there was a little fire pit out there, and that was after we had recorded the first episode of the Moonflower Show.
And that was just one episode. This, I think, was in August of 2020, and we had recorded the first episode of the Moonflower Show in May of 2020. And at that point, it was like not uploaded anywhere.
Yeah. It wasn't even the Moonflower Show. It
No.
was just something that we had decided to do. We were like, hey, let's make an episode. Let's like make a podcast episode for fun.
Yeah. We just sat down one day. It was like a spur of the moment thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had it on my Google Drive, and we had decent service in this area, and we were kind of listening to music around the campfire. And I was like, hey, you want to listen to that podcast thing that we made?
Because I think this was the first time that we
listened to it
all the way through. I think we did once immediately after we recorded it, but then there were a couple weeks passed, and then then this happened.
Well, this was in August, and we recorded that episode in May.
Yes.
The podcast.
Yeah, so it was,
was
6 to 8 weeks later.
No, it was 4 months. June, July. Well, I guess 3 months. That's longer than 6 to 8 weeks. I remember it because we recorded it on Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And then we went to Lake George for my birthday.
That was, okay. So, yeah, it was a couple months, actually. So we went back and, revisited it, and, we were... I mean, I guess we liked the sound of our own voices, but it was super entertaining, and we, had a great time listening to it.
And I think at that point we were kind of maybe we should do this more.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That's actually exactly what happened, because then later that year, I think it was September, we really started saying, okay, let's try to get more episodes out.
Yes.
On, intentionally, on purpose. Yeah.
And eventually that evolved into the Moonflower Show.
Yeah.
But... we have a very important other story to tell.
Oh, yeah.
About this Lake George trip.
So we were looking for a gas station.
Yeah, my God. It was my car, right?
It was, yeah, we had your car. And
I was running pretty low on gas.
And I put in Google gas stations, and it said, what was it?
It was a Citgo.
It said there was a Citgo, like, very close to us.
Yeah.
So we're driving on this back road, and we're, like, quote-unquote, approaching where the Citgo is.
Yeah, and this is, like, a back road that, like, was in the woods, like, approaching, like, the main, like, Lake George, like, town area.
Yeah, and, like, it's kind of going along the side of the lake.
Right, and it, like, kind of overlooks the lake, like, past a couple of, like
there's houses.
Trees. Yeah, there's, like, houses and, like, properties, and then past that, it, like, overlooks the lake. But it said that we were approaching the Citgo, and it was, like, coming up on this road.
Yeah, and then it has us make the sharpest right turn that I've ever had to make. And it has us make this sharp right turn into somebody's driveway.
Yeah.
Who is, like, living on the waterfront of Lake George. And there's no Citgo here, in case you were wondering.
You know, like, it was literally somebody's driveway.
Like, we were in somebody's driveway. And, like, as soon as this happened, I mean, we're two queers vacationing in Lake George. And Lake George is, like, you know, it's a touristy area. But it's also kind of a conservative area, the surrounding area is. So I'm like, we need to go. Like, and you're, like, trying to do a K-turn, but this driveway is so narrow.
It's so narrow. It's so long. It, like, it's like it, like, descends from the main road.
Yeah.
It, like, you go downhill onto this super long, super narrow driveway up to this person's house.
Yep.
And it's like, Google Maps says there's a freaking Citgo
Citgo.
here. But no,
Like,
it certainly is not.
And it wasn't like it was like an abandoned lot and like, oh, maybe there was a Citgo here. Like, this was private property, and it looked like it had been private property, like, for the foreseeable past.
It was a lake house.
Yeah.
It looked nothing like a commercial area whatsoever.
More importantly, like, I don't think you can put a gas station that close to the water.
I don't think it would work.
No.
So we were very confused.
But we were, like, trying to get out of this guy's driveway.
Yeah, and it was like
It was a little, yeah, it was scary.
And I have no idea what the deal with the Phantom Citgo is.
Yeah.
But Google Maps, please get your shit together.
Yeah, if you're ever in Lake George,
there's not a Citgo there.
And you're seeing a Citgo on the map, and you're like, that doesn't look like this Citgo should be there. It's not there. It's not real.
Yeah, that's our sage advice for the night.
Get back to town.
We gotta go back into town.
Oh, that's a story for... We have to get back into town.
Criminal Minds.
Oh, yeah. You might know what we're talking about.
I doubt even people who have seen Criminal Minds, I doubt they would remember that
Should we just share?
Vividly as we do.
So, it's Gideon, right?
Yes, Jason Gideon.
Okay, this is not a camping story.
I love
I just
Jason
have to share
Gideon.
because they're going to be confused forever.
Oh my god. So, yeah. Go ahead.
So we're watching Criminal Minds. There's this episode where Gideon is, like, trying to save these children, right? Mm-hmm. As he does.
Yes.
And he realizes that they've been led to believe that these kids are, like somewhere out in the wilderness or something like that, but they're actually, like, in this village, you know, in the Southwest. And, like, he's revealed, like, the serial killer or whatever, or the what do they call it? The unsub reveals this piece of information to him that makes him realize that he's in the wrong spot. And it's, like, Gideon doing this, like, face, just looking into the sunset.
He has, like, this, like, old man face that he makes in response to many different situations. It's like an old man, like, trying to, like, peer really closely at something he's, like, trying to read. And he, like, does this face.
And then it just, like, cuts hard. And it's Gideon doing, like, a power walk back to his team. And he goes... We have to get back into town.
We have to get back into
And
town.
then it just cut scenes again to them like driving in their FBI vehicle.
It's like he's like shouting it like above like the wind, and it's like it's just
And,
so
like,
funny.
And it's a very serious show, and like I don't know, I think I find Criminal Minds moments funny sometimes because it's so serious.
It's super
But
funny out of context.
I just take every opportunity to reference them. We have to get back into town.
Yeah, it is one of their stupid inside jokes.
Yeah. You know, the problem with our inside jokes is we can't put any of them on a t-shirt because I think we would get
I think
it's
we're the only
copyright issues.
I think we're the only ones that would think it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, we're the only ones who would think it was funny.
We're the only ones that are gonna buy the t-shirt.
Yeah, and it's a copyright issue. So we're gonna get sued by the IRS for a t-shirt that nobody buys.
Sued by the IRS.
Can that be
don't
the
think
title of this episode? Sued by the IRS?
No, it cannot.
Okay, Moonflowers.
Yeah, I think that'll just about do it for this episode.
We hope that you've enjoyed this beautiful episode about some camping campfire stories.
Can that be the title of the episode?
Camping fire stories?
No. Campfire campfire stories.
We'll see. If you're listening to this, you already know.
You already know what the title is. Wow, that's information that you have before us. That's wacky.
That is wacky. How'd you do that? Anyway, I hope that you and your psychic powers have a good rest of your night or day or whatever's in front of you.
I also hope that thing that Winter said.
Yeah. For sure. Alright, good night, everybody.
Good night.